Good evening, good day, good morning, depending on when you're watching this later. Hello, welcome to part 8 of Paint Along with Rob, painting of the 3D Gizmo 1/16 scale US tank commander from World War II. And as usual, I'm here going to be doing bits and bobs. I have a plan-ish, and I'm not sure how long this bit will take. Malcolm's with me and will be commenting, asking questions as I go, and yeah, let's get going. So I left it last time having done some cabling and the microphone and all that, and so now the plan is to work on probably the most inaccessible, the next most inaccessible thing, which is the holster and the pistol, which has accompanying straps. This is an M7 holster, pistol, and was issued to armoured crew, and other people used it. I've had a look online, and there's some great photos of these things. They range in colour from a really dark brown to quite vibrant orangey colours, so it gives us some leeway in how we're going to do this. I'm going to make it a little bit more red orangey colour, and see if I can do the pistol as well. There might be some cursing along the way because of how how awkwardly placed it is with the hands across in the way. So let's get going. On my palette, and it's a very garishly clean, fresh palette, I have got, going from right to left, brown black. We've used it almost everywhere up till now. Next to that is rot brown, red brown. There are other, I think in the notes, there are other red browns you could use. I have an orange brown as well next to that. And finally I have ochre khaki. I will probably add other colours as we go, depending on how it looks. Now the thing is, it's a piece of leather, or a piece of leather constructed holster, and looking at photos, I found original World War II ones which look a little bit battered, and then there are replicas that look a lot more fresher in style and colour and all that kind of stuff. So can I find a picture? Oh yeah. So yeah, if you find vintage ones, they will be a little bit more knackered, which we can try and do a little bit here. But first of all, I'm just going to lay in some kind of broad colour. So last time I did a base coat of a kind of red-brown colour. I generally can't remember what colour it was. It was probably the red-brown with a little bit of the brown-black in it. And I'm going to do some highlight colours, which are going to be kind of minimal because it is sitting under his arm. So a lot of it's going to be in shadow from his arm, but at the same time we want to give it some shape and form. It's got a strap coming down holding the gun, the M1917 pistol in place, and a little dangly strap there, and then it's got that is going to be terrifying to paint, that strap, but it's a strap coming around there and here.
You'll be
So yes, I'm going to start off just by doing some taking some of the brown black and some of the red brown to create quite a dark colour, and I'm going to do some simple kind of lining around the strap around the back initially, or put this in sort of areas that might be in shadow. So if we're looking down, it's quite thin, but not super watery. So there's the obvious shape of the curve underneath of the holster itself. So I'm going to put some in there, just marking out the shape. And based on on the photos I've got, there is a bigger zone that comes across. So there's a kind of define that goes not all the way across. So there'll be a shadow in that bit. There's a shadow under here. Obviously, the base will be in complete shadow, and there'll be a little bit of shadow caused by his arm. So I'm going to put a little bit in there. Now, this isn't super dark. There's some quite difficult, I guess you could argue, poorly defined. This strap coming down there, it's not very well defined when it hits. There's a little clasp there as well. That's not brilliantly defined, so we'll be able to define that with a shadow colour and even more shadow later on. So I'm just putting a bit of paint in there to give it some shape and form. I'm going to put a little bit just in the back there. So hopefully you can see there's just a little bit darker. So you've got the natural shadow of it there, and then when I turn it, you can still see there's some darker paint in it. Mm-hmm. We're going to make that darker in time. And then the other thing I'm going to do is try carefully to just line the lower part. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more of a black green to that because I want this bit to be a bit darker. I'm going to make it a bit thinner. Because what I want to do for the strap is kind of make it, I don't know what's the word I could say, pop a bit more. So I'm going to do a dark line on the lower edge, and we'll be doing a highlight on the upper edge. So this can be a little bit thin. We're kind of lining the bottom edge, which will be in shadow, with a darker brown. And that's kind of, so we don't want to do, you could line it top and bottom, but we want to line it just on the bottom because that's where, with the way I'm painting this with a light source from above, it will make more sense. But it's also quite tricky. With this sort of thing, it's always quite, because you've also got if you remember with this jacket, we've got the shadow from the jacket above the top, so we'll end up with a contrast between the highlight we do, which is catching a little bit of the light there, mm-hmm. against the shadow of the jacket where it curls and nipped in by the strap. What I want to do,
well, at least you can get to it.
Yeah, you might notice that I'm going to be avoiding the tricky bits for as long as I can.
So I guess there's no easy way of doing those tricky bits. There's
it's simply take a deep breath and go for it. But yeah, when we're doing this kind of bit, you kind of analyze the construction. That's the main strap of the shoulder holster, and this strap appears to be hooked onto it. So you've got the way it's hooked on, or it's looped on, I should say, probably. So there is a top and bottom to that. So I've painted the lower side, which will be in shadow. There's also a bit of that portion there where it forms the loop. And we're going to come round to the front. I'm going to paint.
Some brush packs you see, they have a bent brush at the end. The ferrule is kind of bent in
right.
half. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
those before. And I wondered
No.
if they are for this kind of operation where you have to get around a corner almost.
I've never. I mean, the only kind of thing I'm aware of are those sign writer brushes that are extra long, as opposed to bent. I've never seen a bent. I don't think I've ever seen a bent one.
Mm.
That's intriguing. I don't. My instinct is I can't work out why. Where I kind of, if I'm moving in that direction and it's bent, then I can't work out what kind of control I'd have of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, would I have full control of it? So there's a little construction here. If you look on the strap, has a another leather part with three little. I guess it's a padding which might be worn higher up. I don't know. So I'm just kind of lining that out a little bit as well. So now I've done. You can just about. I guess you can see it, can't you? You can see the darker line underneath. I haven't gone full black brown. I could still go that far, but I'm kind of just defining the shapes really at this point. You can see the lower side, and that's all I've done, and it's already, even though it's only the base coat I did last time, it's already defined that shape a bit more, and which means in that sense it's still fairly warm in this room, so that has, I'm adding a little bit more water to that. What's nice, I'm not going to say it, I'll tell you later actually. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more on that lower side there. Oops, lower side there. And in the same way, I'm defining the shape of the strap on his shoulder. I'm going to just do the same in the lower edge of that line up there, which worked quite nicely.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking on Google. The bent brush is for sign writing and straight line drawing.
Oh, right, okay.
Used by furniture painters and sign writers.
Oh. I have to look at. It'd be interesting to find a YouTube video of somebody using those. I've seen people use the very long brushes for sign writing and doing lettering. I quite like doing lettering myself in terms of just fonts and creating fonts and that kind of thing is quite. You can see I've just cocked that up marginally.
There you go. Look, quick thinking.
Yeah, a little bit. If I put a little bit of the red brown, which is quite thin already. Remember, got just on the jacket there. And as soon as I saw that happen, I cleaned my brush quickly, and with the wet brush, just got rid of it as quickly as I could. Now I tried that, if you remember, there's still that mark there from last time. So don't always get it in time. I think last time it was quite warm as well, if I remember rightly. It's not quite so warm today. Right, I'm now going to define. I'm going to use just a little bit of almost exclusively black brown, thin again, and we've got. I'm just defining shapes at this point in time. So I'm going to just pick out, if I can, that lower edge of the strap. It's come out quite thick at that point in time. But, that's got too much paint on the brush. But that'll be cool. We can make that work for us in time.
So the colourful things on here, if we talk about the bright kind of things that are going to catch the eye, is the red and orange of that leather holster.
Yeah.
And the badges on the arms.
Yes, we've still got to go in the full armoured division. That's going to be fun to do in red, blue, and yellow.
Of course, you can mute the colours down to match the hues and things, but would you want to do that, or would you have nice and super bright?
It's an interesting one. I would. But when we get to that, it will be a case of, I guess I'd do it in the way I would do a decal, because I've applied armoured division decals to steady scale figures, and whenever I do a decal, I'll always glaze over it with, be it a colour like that, but really, really super thin. So it just like say it kind of just takes the edge off it. I wouldn't use. I'd probably use the primary colours at the tube to paint it, and then dull it down after that. So I wouldn't want it to look super bright.
Okay.
That would be my approach. Right.
Okay.
What I'm going to try and do now is see if I can replicate some of the orangey colours I've seen in some of these examples. Now, what I'm going to do is very carefully, I'm going to start off with this quite thin. It's a kind of orangey red brown, and at this point in time, it doesn't matter if I'm too thick, but I don't want this to be super thick. And this, when you've got a item like this, it's tubular shape, really. So the highlights, you're not going to be highlighting. You're going to be kind of. Wait, we're going to get back in focus. I'm going to kind of. It's got a bit of a shine to it because it's leather. And if you got something tubular, you want, in the same way I did, kind of a middle reflection on the microphone, and same in here on the straps. I'm just going to carefully do some little horizontal lines going upwards, as if the highlight is, or the paint shape is mimicking kind of and I'm going to offset it slightly there. That's going to dry. You can see that drying in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's not quite so pronounced, but it has got quite a nice orange colour to it, actually. Quite like that. But it is, if we were to zoom in on that.
Is that so that you can, the reason you're doing those kind of feathered lines, is that so you can mimic some sort of scratches, or
it adds it's a nice effect to have for leather if you're going to have it quite battered, but it's kind of a start. If you remember when we're doing some of the shading on, let's think about which bits we've done it on. When I was painting upwards and leaving the highlight at the top there, his arm is a tube shape, so I'm effectively doing that same highlight, but in this case it's an almost vertical thing, and I'm not, because it's quite a reflective thing item, I'm not doing it in kind of like the light from above effect. It's kind of, if you were to look at one of these items, a photograph of one, you'll see a kind of can't think of the proper word for it, but there'll be an area of reflectivity in it that kind of goes top to bottom. If you had something like that, you can see a little reflection coming down like that, even though the light source is from above.
Yeah,
there are reflections from in angles that which you wouldn't get somewhere else on my hand, kind of thing.
So you're talking about non-metal finishes, non-metallic metal and leather. Reflections of things that are not metal.
Yeah, they're kind of. It's a glossy, potentially slightly glossy thing, so the reflections will come from other directions. So as opposed to a matte surface that would just absorb light from above. I'm going to just I've thinned that down a little bit more, and for the this part of it, I'm just going to glaze the surface as opposed to, because it's a flat surface and not. It's because it's a rounded tube shape, whereas the flat bit against the body is it's a flat thing. You can even see, actually, good example here. Can you see the light from my lamp is creating that vertical line there, reflection? So it's not, even though the light is coming from above, it's created a, if I move that around.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of lighting that we're trying to create an effect. In fact, we can use an element of that.
Yeah.
To guide us.
Satin of it, isn't it?
Yeah. So
have you got reference? Are you using that reference from the book?
I've got a book, but I've got a few pictures from the interweb, which I can share later on. Because there's another thing which I'm just going to do very quickly now, and why I've got this the ochre khaki. Where the gun is put in, you basically got, that's untreated leather, so it's kind of got that softer leather character to it, brushed leather, whereas the outer portion is kind of more of a polished, smoother leather. So that interior bit, depending on examples you see, can often be a slightly different colour to the exterior. Now, again, it's tricky to see, or it's tricky to get to. I'm going to put. Oh, it's probably way too bright at the moment, so I'm going to just dull that down slightly. So I'm mixing some of that into this effective base mix. Just going to do it so it's a slightly different colour. You don't have to do this because it's awkward to get to. But again, like I say, when you're looking at photographs of examples of this, you'll see it, that bit can be a different colour. And at the moment, I'm just kind of base coating that portion, and it will just add a bit of difference. So the top edge will still remain the same orange red brown colour.
It's kind of black as well. So is it black leather, but then when it wears away, it's got that orange underneath?
I think usually leather is an orange colour, and it will be coloured black.
Right. Okay.
So you'd find when I was painting some German troops late war, M1943, M1942 boots. They were issued later in the war as red leather boots, but they were expected to be polished or use black polish to make them black. So it's that kind of thing. So the dark ones might be a darker leather, but I think you're more likely to get a lighter leather that gets coloured dark. So it would be tanned or whatever you call it.
Right.
So I've got some now thinner colour of the same thinner paint, and I'm just blending over the edges again. But it's quite a rapid change. So in some ways I'm doing a light patch down, a reflection down here and a reflection on that edge, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And
you're going to use the same colour on all of the leather straps on his back as well?
Yeah, I think so. Just keep it simple. But I'm going to do it. Yeah, I will be doing another level of highlight later on, which I think I want to try and do to go a bit more crazy. I'll come to that later. But yeah, so I'm now going to. I've gone back to that original. The original brighter colour, and I'm just going to very carefully. It's still quite thin. I'm just going to get that in focus and paint that upper edge. And you've got that loop. You can see on this there's almost a sheen on this that's picking up that reflection at the top. And I'm going to use that almost to guide. It's probably more obvious. So that loop has got quite a broad light at the top. And each one of these little loops, if I make them go down a little bit further than maybe about halfway down. Now, if you think about where that loop is here, it's a diamond shape. So you've got two edges that are catching the light from above. So you've got that one. Oh, sorry, that one. And then you've got that one.
Okay.
And then the strap coming down will. Now for that, I'm using the edge of the tip. So it's just that it's what we're doing here is accentuating the three-dimensionality of that strap, which is actually quite flat to his jacket. So you haven't got a lot of room to play, but by using the edge of the tip, you can just use the raised nature of that strap. So I'm not painting a super thin line. I'm not painting. I could try and paint that way along the top, but I'm using the tip just to paint almost. It's not quite. It's principle of dry brushing in terms of you are trying to catch paint on the raised bit, but that raised bit, you've got a wetter brush than you would with a dry brush, and you just want it to. I'm going to do some just up a bit of that. So
yeah, it's just like using the side of a pencil, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good way of defining it. Now here, it becomes quite tricky to. I am going to do that with the tip of the brush because there is no definition of the strap. Oh, sorry, no definition of the strap just under that. But what you'll also notice is, and I mentioned this at the beginning, you've got a nice bit of contrast between that highlight and the shadow in the jacket, which makes it jump out a little bit more again.
The shadow on that top one as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to here now.
Let's say 5 minutes, Rob.
Say again?
Say 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to carry on trying to get that same. Oh, sorry. As we move over to the shoulder, though, you think about the logic of what we're doing with the light being here. When we get here, the light's coming down across the whole of the top of that. So here I'm not going to be using exactly the same methodology. I am going to paint upwards, like we would do any highlighting to the top of the strap. Leaving a bit of paint at the top, and in the other direction I'm going to do the same again. This is slightly thinner paint. Oh, sorry, that way. So that will hopefully make as it dries. And if we wanted to, and I guess we can do it for demonstration purposes, if you are painting leather and you want something a little bit more, cracked and worn, we can do little, almost like tiny little chips or kind of little vertical lines on top of that highlight bit. I don't want to go too mad doing it because it could look a bit odd on this, but if you've got an old a knight or something who's got an old leather belt holding his sword, or a leather scabbard that his sword is in, you might want to do something a little bit more cracked. Oh, that's a little bit too much in that. What else do we, so I still haven't got. I might end up doing that slightly off camera. That strap. Demonstrate the principles to you here, and then swear and curse trying to get that.
Oh, you definitely do it. Definitely do it while being filmed.
Right, I'm just going to go a little
Make
bit
it very
more.
real, won't it? Then.
Yes, that is very true. Right, I'm just going to do that top bit there. I just want to separate out that edge a bit more with some thin, darker black brown and red brown, effectively. And also with that darker colour, I still want to separate out a little bit more. So because we're in detail world, I'm going to try and define this little block here some more. I might even go and bring in some black paint a bit later on to separate out those bits a little bit more as well, because they're not really defined as well as I'd like. Because a lot of it's about separating out and making different components look like they are the actual separate components. We can see, you look at that now, and you've got the form of the leather straps is much more pronounced. Now we put the darker line on the bottom and a lighter line on the top. And for the holster itself there, it's darker, or is starting to get its form a little bit more. I'm going to do a little bit more on that, but after the break.
More holster after the break?
Yeah, more holster after the break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Let's do it. Hello again. We are refreshed and raring to go. Right, more working on the straps and stuff for the holster. I was listening to another podcast earlier today, and I think it was not podcast. I was watching a video of somebody painting, and they were just saying how step by step is really tricky. What you'll notice in the way that even I'm doing it is that I'm kind of painting and adjusting as I go. So you might do a little bit of one thing and then you'll go back and adjust. So yeah, to say put base color down, add highlight, add shadow, job done kind of thing is always a little bit more tweaking and adjusting and seeing something wants to change. So that's kind of what happened. So yeah, I've now added some black to my palette, and this is a highlight flash color. Yes, I know. It's become clear in a minute, but right now I'm going to do a little bit more highlighting, and this time I'm going to add some of the more of the orange brown to the red brown. So this is going to be a bit more vibrant orange, and this time I'm going to do I'm going to thin it a little bit more. I want to thin it a little bit more this time in that highlight zone. Let's just see, that's not very, that's quite thin paint, you can see that. So it might take a couple of applications before I see anything going on. So I'm going to put that just in the middle of my that highlight zone I did before.
Okay. Oh, my question was just before we started.
Hold
on to it. Is why are you not painting the gun first if it's underneath the holster or in the holster?
It's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that, to be fair to you.
So my question is, why are you not?
Yeah, there is no solid reason as to why I'm not.
You could, or
I could, and I can see areas where it's going to be a pain, but my I can see the top edge of my holster is already painted slightly over top, so I've got to just do a very careful black line in there. There's not a lot to do on the gun. It's going to be mostly dark, and there's some bits and bobs to paint, but it's quite minimal compared to the holster, and I was kind of just wanting to get going on the holster, really.
Yeah. Okay. So what colours will the gun be then? What type of weapon is it?
It's a Colt M1917, I believe, is the weapon.
Right.
It's you will see it. It's sometimes it's a metal, a blue parkerized metal with a handle, which I've seen some examples which are brown and some which are brown as in maybe wood, and some just in the center. The top and bottom are going to be parkerized, and some which are kind of almost the same color, so just off blacks and stuff. So it's pretty much what you see there, and we'll probably add some highlights and non-metallic looking effects in there like we did with the
Sorry, Rob, what did you say? It was a Colt 1911?
1911, I think it's a 1911, yeah. Cool. And there'll be various color variations of what that is.
Oh, I see. Yes, I was just wondering what that sort of diamond shape was. That's just kind of a pattern where the screw goes in the holster.
Yeah.
Block. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost. Yeah. I think it's one of those you could make as flamboyant as you like, or kind of simple as you like. So what I'm going to try and do, the leather strap that's going over top of the handle, I want to do a highlight on that, but it's quite an awkward location. So I'm going to be very careful. Come down this way, which is almost impossible to film. See, I'm kind of always thinking of you guys. I'm coming down from the top. I can really only paint upwards doing that. I can't push. I don't want to push. And then if I want to come down the other way, I've got to get the brush in under here. And when I've adjusted it to the angle I can see in, but you can't. I can see a bit where I haven't quite got enough paint in behind the gun itself. You can see here at the moment, right, we have, I've done a kind of a column of light coming down. Now what I'm going to do is add some of that flesh colour. In the same way, when we're painting a non-metallic metal, you have a very, 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 very narrow bit of brightness from the shininess of it. I'm going to try and do something very similar with the flesh. So you rather than highlighting with a bright white that you might do with a bright grey, we're not dealing with a grey base, we're dealing with a orange leather. So what I'm going to try and do is do those strong reflections where you can see it there, which isn't painted that colour. I'm going to just do right in the very centre of that, and right in the middle. It might look rubbish in pants, I don't know. I'm going to do it right down the middle with little, it's quite thin. So this is kind of like catch light. On leather as opposed, yeah. As opposed to, so you've got to imagine that this holster is a slightly shiny leather. But I'm not going to do too much of it because it's just catching. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I've never tried anything like this before, so you're seeing me mucking around. And I'm doing it in places that, you know, sort of just at the top and bottom of that upper. Like I say, if you find photographs of the M7 holster, you'll see that it can be quite shiny, and that you often have a really strong reflection of probably the studio lights they're photographed under. But it does kind of come down in that way. And it just adds a bit of dimensionality and shape to that.
Yeah. Well, also you copied the light that you mentioned at the before the break as well.
Yeah. And it's quite nice. It's quite effective, and it's not bright. I mean, it's one thing to remember: if you ever go near hard non-metallic metal, like hard drugs, it's all about contrast. It's all about going from dark to light very quickly. So we've got that dark shadow, which is quite dark, right next to that light, before we go into mid-tones almost towards the top. And that's where it becomes most effective, is when you've got that rapid transition from dark to light. So whereas in a uniform like this, we want more softer transitions, even though we've got light at the top. We're after something that's a little bit more rapid and dark to light adjacent, in the same way with the cabling. So, and again, it's dark to light, but the light isn't really super light. It's it's just a little bit of flesh, but it's light relative to that dark. If we get what I mean, and we're only going to do. I'm not going to do. I don't think I'm going to do it on these bits because it's only on this shape and tube of a holster. And you could put it on where that strap is, because that's a bent strap, and so that's going to have a thin high reflection bit. Same with the strap going over the top. I can do a thin. Come back down this way again. That's a better angle to view it at, isn't it? I can do again a little thin high reflection bit. Well, I quite like that. I mean, it's not perfect, but it shows you how you can make something that's altogether quite unimpressive into a more interesting shape and form.
Looks older and worn.
Yeah, it's got slightly scuffy effect, and we can even do more with that.
Would you say it looks shiny though?
If you hold it there, you could argue that it does. Again, these are, strictly speaking, 2D effects done. I mean, if you're holding it like that, you can see those little reflective bits that I've created, even though we could see there were reflective bits created by the lamp itself. So we want, again, if you didn't have a lamp, or if we were looking at this in the light of a model show or something like that, you'd see that effect, and it would, it's that kind of thing you're trying to achieve. So what I'm going to do now is just deal with a couple of details. So I'm going to use the black on its own in a way that I can, and in the same way we had the little strap or little press studs and things. We've got the little straps, studs and things going on. I have a dog making whining noises. I'm ever so sorry, distracting me slightly. First time in 8 weeks. So yeah, these are the little studs and straps holding the gun in place. And while I'm doing that with this, I'll just let you know there is a model color, Vallejo model color black, which is a very good black. I also have, but I'm not using it. It's funny how a black can be different to another black. This black kind of dries much matter than this black, which it has a slight satiny finish, very slight satiny finish, and that makes it look darker because it just has a bit more of a solid blackness to it. You'd have to paint them side by side to really appreciate that, but trust me, the Vallejo black is a better, deeper black. Right, so I'm going to just paint the gun handle solid black. Knowing that I might have to go and fix some pieces up. And coming down this way, I'm just going to paint the top of it. I have to admit, when I look down here now, I can see little parts where I could probably go in and fix up with some more of the holster colour. It's such a difficult angle to get into. just generally it's. Sorry. Got it. Yes, it's very. There are some very inaccessible bits in there. That's dried a little bit more. I can see there. A little bit more on that one. Now again, in the same way. Just kind of the little stud details.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Let me just. I'm going to just grab some of the basalt grey here, which I have used before, I believe, in doing some of the grey elements. There is another grey I could grab as well to make it go lighter, but I'm going to try something.
Oh, can I just interject with something I found out today? I heard when you pour out your paint from a dropper bottle, when you're finished pouring out your paint from a dropper bottle, give the bottle a wipe.
Oh, right.
Right, and that will stop any of the explosions that you have, and it won't stop it drying out on the end. Because it doesn't happen when you first open them. It's not dried up, and it gets dried up when there's too much paint and it can't create that seal again. So there you go.
Endeavour to do that.
So if you get a blocked nozzles because you haven't wiped your end. Yeah,
I've got to make sure you wipe, ladies and gentlemen.
It's put on a t-shirt.
Wipe your end. Here endeth the TED Talk.
If you haven't learned anything in the last 8 episodes.
Yeah, just wipe it. All of you, wipe it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I've got some of that basalt grey, which is a neutral, very much a neutral grey, and I'm going to just put a bit of light reflection on the top of that bottom stud. Now, what I've noticed looking at the photographs of these things is that this particular stud here, or latch, or whatever you call it, looks to be exactly the same latch or stud that you'd see on a ammunition pouch that the US use, so it's kind of common across multiple items of kit. And it's often, I couldn't see it on the photographs I've seen, but it was often a blackened brass. So it could get worn down to look like brass. But in this case, I'm not going to do it like that. So I put the grey on, and it was very, you can still see the little dot in the middle, which is now covered in grey. I'm going to do a little bit of thinned black on the underside of that. Or as it's thinned, that dot will eventually, it will act like a pin wash. Like, that's a pin wash, like you would do on armour or any other way of doing it. And so that dot will remain. You can see it's still there. I'm going to highlight that a little bit more in a minute. But while I've got some black on the brush, I'm just going to try to hopefully define where that strap's coming down a bit stronger. I've done it with brown earlier, and it's still not very clear. You can see it's not really very clear on that side. And I'm going to be drying a little bit. Then I'm going to put a little bit just underneath that portion. And it's thin, remember this, what I've done. So I'm just kind of... So yeah, so what I'm going to do is rather than take a white grey to make that a little bit brighter, I'm going to use a tiny little bit of flesh in it, which will just be a slightly pinker or a warmer light grey. So I'm lightening it just because it's convenience of not getting another paint out effectively for some reason, because it's there, but it will still make a lighter grey, and I can just use that to...
So they rivets, are there, or poppers?
They're poppers, I guess you'd call them.
Like on his same on his helmet.
Yeah. Similar. The one this one here that I'm painting here is it's a 35th scale figure, but the popper's holding down the strap or those pouches. That is exactly the same popper mechanism that's holding down that strap on his gun.
Right.
So I'm assuming that US mass manufacture during World War II meant that they'd use them on multiple things. So they'd be on ammo pouches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A universal stud.
That's what they used to call me.
Easy tiger. So yeah, just I'm just kind of making that pop out a little bit more.
Is there any metal on the strap at the back?
No, there are. You can see this is hooked on that bit, and that's a kind of extra pad that you could slide and probably would be worn ideally over the shoulder, because that's going to bear the weight. You can imagine that's what you'd get on a
yeah.
You know what I mean, on a bag strap or something. You often have an extra layer to take to just put that slip round. There is looking at the construction of these things, just under most of a D strap or a D clip, where it all hooks to that bit of the. Actually, yeah, you can just about see in this really inaccessible bit. Can you see? There's a D in there, so that would be black, and I could just about get a brush in there. Let's see if I can just about get a brush in there. As opposed at the moment, for some reason I did manage to paint it, and I managed to paint it brown. But that bit there, just so everyone can see that these things are doable. The rest of it is hiding underneath those. So I've now managed to get a bit of black paint over top of that. What I'm also going to do with this gun holster, or gun itself, the M1911, is with some thin grey, similar to this, but probably a little bit thinner. I'm just going to paint that lower edge, the straight line. So although it's metal and a little bit going into, I can come back and again on the upper bit, I want to do the similar thing. very difficult to get to, quite horrible and traumatic to paint. So I'm just giving it the hint that it's not black, effectively. So just on the upper edge where, and the what do you call it? Gun or the hammer mechanism for the pistol. Just putting a little bit light on that. It's quite difficult to discern what's going on. But again, I'm just trying to. And again, I'm going to do that kind of diamondy shaped part with this grey as well. So it's still quite dark grey. The handle itself, or the attached handle bit, I am going to paint with some of the dark brown black, so it's going to be a slightly different colour, and it's going to be quite thin. Again, I don't want it to, some of the pictures I've seen of these things, they are almost the same colour as the metal components of the pistol. Some are a dark brown, some are really almost wood. So I'm not going to go out of my way on this one to make it a solid brown. It's just because it's a thin brown over black, it will only be barely perceptible as a different colour. I just want it to be different to the so yeah, you can see it's a considerably darker brown than the holster. It is brown if you look at it compared to the grey of the clip. You could if you wanted to go in there with the metallic paint and paint it.
Would you recommend that though?
I'm not a fan. Well, I mean, for doing that little area, I wouldn't get the metallic paints out for that personally. I'm going to use a bit of that slightly lighter grey now and try and just pick out that rounded portion, or the little knob on that clasp, or that diamond shape or rhomboid shape, I don't know what you call it. And I'm going to try and just get some of this lighter grey on the top edge, and some on. It's quite thin, remember, so I'm just wanting it to look not black. And these things are, I mean, if you look at any gun like this, they're nearly all parkerized. I think we've had this discussion before. There's different names for it. Parkerized is an American term, and I think I've probably read about it reading. But the blued steel effect, it doesn't end up looking metallic. You might wear that parkerization might wear off at the edges, and you get the shine, which is where we're trying that. Yeah, you just want those little portions of light that's more of a reflection than a metallic. Another issue with metallic painting metallics is the same problem you have with using sand to replicate sand in a model diorama on a base. Sand I'm a geologist, by the way, so this is kind of close to me, as it were. Sand is defined by being a certain size in millimeters and whatever. And the trouble is that if you use sand to represent sand on a model, it ends up looking like sand. And you recognize it as a real world sand because we're all used to seeing real world sand. And because you can't miniaturize those sand particles, you're going to scale down a certain thing. And in the same way, the best metallic paints are those with really fine metallic pigments. But ultimately, they can end up being out of scale on something like a polished Parkerized gun or something like that, with that blued metal or whatever you call it. So it can look out of scale, I feel, if you've got a poor metallic paint.
Right.
It can look a bit weird and a bit off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I avoid. Another reason, there's a lot of reasons why I avoid it if I can do it. If I can avoid doing it, I'm going to pick up a bit more black paint again and just try to get the edge of the strap going around the gun, because we're going to use black next to that where I put brown on the handle. So you can see the little clasps and things now got colour. Top and bottom have got a bit of colour, so there's a little bit of interest going on there. I might refine that a little bit more. And what I'm going to do, let's do this.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, I'm going to do this thing now, which we were talking about earlier. I'm going to go back to the red brown and black brown mixed, which is effectively the base colour. And I'm going to try and do that strap disappearing under his arm. So I'm going to make sure I've not got too much paint on my brush. The last thing I'd want to do is flood it. I'm going to come in from the top. I'm not only going to paint it, I'm going to do it in camera. So, again, when you're doing stuff like this, you don't want to do is have too much paint on the brush. It's better to go and get extra paint if there's not enough paint than suddenly flood a bit you've already painted. And remarkably, the research I did on binoculars isn't required tonight.
I'm quite looking forward to you doing those binoculars and seeing how you approach lenses.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what to do on those, because most of it's in the grip of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what you can really do with the lenses, because short of they'd only see what's going beneath him here, which could be, I don't know, because they're not like glowing red lenses on a sci-fi figure or anything.
I expect you to paint a tiny Sherman hatch in the lenses of those binoculars.
So yeah, there we go. And while we're doing that, I'll see if I can get some.
I guess you would just want some sort of specular highlight or something, just like a glint of light or something on it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, looking at pictures of those things as well, you've got they're not metallic. You can see that on the bits that there's a lot of, even with the primer, you get a level of reflection going, in the same way you get with the holster. You get that the reflections are going up and down, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be doing that kind of effect on the outside, and so there's glossy components, and then there's the bits he's holding, which are quite matte relative to the glossiness of the rest of it. But most of that you can't see because he's holding it, so we're only seeing really the reflection of the goggle of the glossy bits. But I think what might do is just do them with a bit of a blue colour in them. So it's not that you're seeing what's through them, you're getting reflection from the sky above him.
Okay.
In it. And that will add up, What have we got on him? We've got yellows, effectively greens, we've got pinks and reds of his face. We haven't got any blue anywhere on him at the moment. So that would be a little flash of colour, which will be interesting on him, I think. As well. So that's just come to me while looking at it like this, what we might do with that.
Yeah, I guess the blue would be on the top, wouldn't it? Because that's I don't know. I have to.
Yeah, I think we'll try something like that, and then I've got to work out what kind of gloves he's got on, because there's a multiple number of gloves that they wear in World War II.
They're quite padded. They appear padded. Are they got leather stitching on them?
Well, they've got those 3 lines on the back, which implies he might have got hold of some what commonly known as paratroop gloves, which have got quite a long yellow leather feel to them. A nubuck leather, I think they call it. But you also get some that have got green backs with leather palms. So you get so they'd be kind of like olive colour with brown leather palms. And I need to go, sort of think, what has the guy sculpted? Because you can almost see there on his thumb a distinct line, so that you could argue that the inside is leather. Even on his fingers, there's a line in there. So there is a separation of something going on. So I don't know at this point in time exactly how we're going to deal with that. So I've got to do a little bit more research on those. They would be a very distinct leather, a yellow leather, compared to the leathers we've done on the holster and whatnot.
Okay.
But I think for now, could go in and refine some of the shadows and define some of those lines a bit more. But I think we've done all we can do today.
Okay.
And we're nearly there, really.
Yeah. Are you 100% happy with the face? And would you go back to do anything on the face at all? Or you? Well,
we're still talking about doing some weathering and some dirt and whatnot. I have to admit, when I look at him, I like the face. I might not even make his face dirty, because I'm really pleased with how the face looks. And it's almost like I don't want to risk that. I'll leave it. There's some good stuff going on. I quite like the way he's ended up looking.
Yeah.
But might dirty up his jacket a bit more, because there's some big areas there of plainness, and we've got that bit there that got some paint on it.
I would urge you to put something on a face, maybe just one side, see how it goes, just to see how you would approach it. If it goes wrong, hey, it goes wrong. We've still got the video. You can show people what it looked like.
Well, it could also I was just thinking, what if his crewmates put some black soot on his binoculars and he's got little black rings around his eyes.
Well, then you wouldn't have to bother putting any colour into the binoculars, would you?
No.
That explain why he's grumpy.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can see how, by the things I did to the holster, which could just so easily be, it's another thing of interest when you look at it like that. It's got that, the light that I've created on it, which kind of works quite well with his face as well, really, I think.
Yeah.
I quite like it. And
lovely.
Yeah, cool.
Good job. What's next then? What's the next one? Gloves, do you think?
I think it will be gloves and goggles. Binoculars. I think it is pretty much those elements.
Yeah. And then another one on and then badges.
Yeah, and the badges. That will the armored division. We'll have to decide what armored division we want them to be, because in theory, I guess I'm going to be painting a little tank in the middle of that with a number on it, I believe, to make it a specific armored division.
Yep.
Gosh.
You'll be fine. You'll do well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one on the binoculars and gloves, I guess, and then one on the badges, and then one on weathering, I think.
Yeah. So 3 at the most. Okay. 2 if they went really well. 3 more episodes.
Brilliant, mate. All right. Thank you.
Okie doke.
See you later.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.